Like a true blue bong, art, culture, and everything about cinema is totally something that she relates to. I'm talking about the Sky's Pink director, Shonali Bose. Shonali, I'm really excited that we're doing this after so much
Thrilled
of
to be
planning.
here.
Who have been the early influences in your life, and how did that seep into your work?
Satyajit Ray, without a doubt. We read, Bibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay's book Pather Pachali. From school, we were taken to the theatre to watch Pather Pachali. And that's just one of his many films. All his, films like for children was part of just one's diet growing up. So, but without, not in a conscious way. I can't say because I didn't know I would be a filmmaker growing up, I was an actor. I did lots of theatre from when I was a kid. I was always the lead of all my school plays. But just in your subconscious, if you're watching Ray's cinema and later you become a filmmaker, that's something that's just part of your way of seeing,
Your first feature film is always the first baby that you're so protective about. So what were the hindrances that you noticed at that time that you had to overcome? What were the sort of differences that you saw in the society at that time when you were making Amu?
It's an interesting question because Amu, in fact, it's been a long time now, it's 15 years. So 2004, and a lot has changed in our industry. And at the time of Amu, there weren't even multiplexes. So today, if an Amu releases, it would be a box office hit. Because it's actually, even though it's on a difficult subject, it's really a commercial film if you watch it. What do I mean by commercial film? I mean that it's a film that is relatable, that is entertaining, and yet has a really good story, fast-paced. But there were no multiplexes. It had just started. So that's a big change that I feel as a filmmaker, where today you can make all kinds of cinema and get backing for it. And that's a very exciting thing for Indian filmmakers. The second thing was that at that time, when I written that script, when I was trying to raise money for it, I was told that, can you make Kaju, who is the lead character played by Konkona Sen Sharma, can you make her a boy? Can you make it a hero-led film? Now, today, even though still there is that discrepancy that a hero-led film will get you much more slam dunk support, but you can still make women-led films without difficulty. At the time of making Amu, that was extremely hard. I said no because I was not about to change my script. I was not about to change the gender of my character, just because to get money. And it made it that much harder to raise money by saying no when I could just get the money if I'd made it a hero.
Yeah. But just replace her.
Yes, and that is an interesting thing as a woman filmmaker that you feel. I feel as a woman director and writer, I tend to write characters that are strong women, and they're the leads. It's very true. It could have been a male, right? There was nothing in the film that made it necessarily gender specific. And that is my relationship as a woman director, that yes, why wouldn't I tell women's stories? I want to, because they're not being told enough. And that was a tough decision to face at the time, that, okay, I could easily get this money and make the film, or I'm going to stick with my principles, and I did. And that's changed. Yeah. That's changed a lot, and it's exciting, it's great.
Even then, I hear a lot of filmmakers and I hear a lot of female leads point out that they still don't want to invest that much, where you have, it's a female-led subject. The way they look at a subject like the conventional hero-led subject, the budget difference is still there. Do you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like even Margarita with the Straw, which was 2014, so it's 10 years after Amu. Nobody directly told me that, make Kalki's character male. Yeah. There I had specifically been told that, but definitely if I had made it a male character, it wouldn't have been that much of a struggle, without a doubt. Like even today, now 2019, there is that difference. Like if the film is female-led versus male-led, and we can't only put it on producers, audiences. You see, the male audience, it's all to do with the bias within society. Now, who are the big ticket buyers? So you see the young men who go out, like, they go out in groups of friends and they go out to watch a film. They are the biggest ticket buyers on that opening weekend. They want to watch a hero film. And we have to keep struggling and keep making our women-led films and keep opening up the doors, keep pushing it out. But it's still a struggle, without a doubt.
They would still call Margarita with a Straw or Amu films that are slightly more arty. Today, I think that difference is going, and people just realize, oh, you call them content-driven films. But forever, I think a tag sort of gets stuck to you saying, oh, she's a very arty filmmaker. And they must have said, oh, you must do something more commercial. How did you sort of get out of that zone, and what sort of comments did you receive that were sort of ridiculous right now?
No, that's a really good question, because I've had to face that all my life, that this is a festival, you make festival films. I had to face it with Margarita with a Straw because it had a commercial release. We opened in 250 theatres. And in fact, my close friend in the film industry, Shahid Ali, who I've grown up with, he was just like, you make such commercial cinema. And he said, because the film is commercial, like what makes a film commercial is your audience needs to love it. So anybody watching your films, it's entertaining, it keeps you gripped. That's what a commercial film is, right? But it's really that box that I've been put in is, firstly, they've been critically acclaimed, they've been in film festivals, my previous work, and they've not had a massive release.
I'm sorry, I'm interjecting here, but we have a national award winner in front of us, along with Sundance, so a lot of awards there. But please go on.
Right. So then, with The Sky is Pink, I think there are like the expectation is that, so is this going to be also like her genre is like art house, as if that's a genre when it's not. But
Sure.
Basically for me, I feel that, am I able to reach my audiences? That's what I've tried to do with all my films. Like I make cinema. Cinema is for the public.
Correct.
It's not a piece of it's not a painting that you just for one person. So I feel I have not strayed from telling a story which is very appealing and relatable from my prior work. Is this more accessible? Not in the form. My film form in the previous two films was also not more artistic than this. It's more accessible simply because there are major stars in it. So when you have major stars, that is what gives it more the quote-unquote commercial bracket. My filmmaking style hasn't changed.
And since you talk about the major star bit, let's also talk about how now suddenly you also seem to be questioned on, has she sort of sold her soul a little bit and become more commercial? Festival filmmaking sort of suffering at the hand of commercialism is what you also heard, right?
I read one review about it, but I don't know if others are going to be saying this. If I was given, if you told me, choose your you'll get however much money you need, even if you take an unknown actor, I would still choose Priyanka Chopra, Farhan, Akhtar for this film. They were the right actors to play these characters. One of the misconceptions I feel that why people feeling sold the soul, etc., is because I have made Aditi Chaudhary, I have been true to the real Aditi Chaudhary with Priyanka Chopra being glamorous. Now, Aditi Chaudhary's motto in life is, when life sucks and life is shit, you should look like $1 million. She she has more makeup probably than Priyanka in real life, like Aditi. And what I loved about Aditi is that you have a sick child. So Aisha was actually given makeup classes, and that's how she reached me. My makeup artist in Margarita with a Straw, Virginia Holmes, is how she connected with me to approach me to make this film, because she did makeup classes for her child who's lying by now in bed, unable to lift her head. And every day she would stand in front of the cupboard and say, Aishi, what would you like to wear today? And take out some glamorous outfit. So our notions of sickness, our notions of people who are over 45, I'm 54, I made my hair blue when I turned 50. Our notions of aging and sickness are that, you have to look really pale and just decrepit, and, this is, I challenge that. And Aditi Chaudhary in real life challenges that. So Priyanka, when we see her, it's a film that spans 25 years. So in her younger days, she still wears makeup, but they were struggling. They didn't have that much money. Her hair, I have her hair just pulled back in a ponytail. She's in jeans and a T-shirt. When we see her, in fact, we have a lovely line from Nilesh Maniyar, who wrote The Spirit, Aisha's voiceover, saying, the hot Mummies Club president. And she introduces her mother like that, because she comes down the stairs in slow motion. She's wearing a glamorous outfit and she has her hair different. It's styled, because now she goes to the parlor. That's who Aditi Chaudhary is in real life.
Yeah.
Even today she does that.
No, so you've stayed true to core what you believed in, right?
What I believed in, I'm
story?
making a real story. This is a true story, and it's based on real people. And they're very well-groomed, good-looking people who take care of themselves. Even when you face death and you're sad or you're sick, you take care of yourself. You like how you look.
I have massive amount of respect for you, Shonali, because not everybody sort of comes out, like your like the real life couple in this film, talking about what they went through when they lost their child. And you channelized that energy. You know, you were already making Margarita into that. Tell me about how did you do that? I mean, for me, I think for the audience to understand how you did that is very important, and I think it's very inspirational.
So it's been 9 years now since I lost my son Ishan, and amazingly, Aisha's brother's name is Ishan, and I was like, this film is calling out to me. And when Ishan went, you know, I really felt a deep connection with him. He spoke to me on the day of his funeral, saying, "Mama, I didn't need to be on earth anymore." And that sentence completely struck me and made me accept the 16-year-old's death. Because I think the biggest thing with death is, are you able to accept it? And usually when a young person dies, we are unable to accept it. We just feel like this is such a tremendous tragedy that we can't recover from it. Yeah. And because he said that to me, and really, whether I imagined it, you know, I could have imagined it, and that's not the point for me. It's not like, oh, God spoke to me or anything like that. It's like, whether I imagined that sentence or really he spoke to me, I believe it. Yeah. So my mind gave me this sentence, right? It came into my lap that he didn't need to be on earth anymore. And I took that sentence and I examined it, and it made me understand that, wow, this is a marathon. Like, we're all born and we all die, and this journey is a marathon. And when somebody crosses a marathon in a race, right, we cheer them. They finish the marathon. It's something great. We don't feel sad. So I was just like, wow. So in 16 years, he finished his journey, and his journey didn't need to be 100 years. My journey will be however many years. I'm still around here, kicking away at life at 54, and it will be whatever many years it has to be. The main thing is, it's about how you live your life. So he lived his life like to the core, absolutely. He gobbled up life, and Aisha Chaudhary gobbled up life. And so perhaps this 16 and 18-year-old didn't need to be around anymore. And so we derive joy from that. Aditi Nirain and I, we derive joy from that, of what our children, what their lives were. They lived it to the full. And now they're part of the universe, and we are connected with the universe. Their energy, the energy and love of a person who dies never leaves you. But if you really feel it, like, you will be able to connect with him. You will be able to connect with him. And anybody who's lost somebody, yeah. I just look at the sky and I talk to Ishan, and I feel his energy and love, you know?
I think that's beautiful. So tell me, how did you sort of come out of that phase?
So firstly, I spent a lot of time, which I encourage anybody and everybody who's listening to this interview and everybody who watched the film has already lost somebody or will lose somebody. That is the nature of life. And all I can say is, from my experience to you, is that we should not avoid that pain. What I did in real life, and not through my art, was to really sit with my pain. And if you sit with pain, and it's a Buddhist saying, you transcend it. So I did something called grief work. I call it grief work. I gave it that title, where after Ishan's death, I sat every day with my feelings, feelings of anger, feelings of denial, feelings of resistance to it, feelings of why, even when I accepted it, in a deep way to accept it, you need to keep doing that work so that you stop asking the question, why did it happen? And you're just like, I am fine with what happened. So even though you're mentally fine, you have to make sure in your body, with your emotions, you're fine. So I did that work. So by the time I started writing Margarita with a Straw, and certainly The Sky is Pink, I had already completely, fully done that work to accept it. So my art was not cathartic, because people often ask me that question, that did you deal with death through your art? And I didn't.
It wasn't that.
I didn't, because
was it a celebration of it?
It's a celebration.
Okay.
I think the films are a celebration, and certainly The Sky is Pink in a huger way, yeah. Because I think in Margarita with a Straw, it's still, it's her acceptance, yeah, of her mother's death and her acceptance of her disability and her sexuality. Sure. And in The Sky is Pink, it's a clear-cut celebration of death and life, of, yeah, both.
I was talking to Priyanka yesterday, and both Priyanka and Farhan mentioned about how this is one production house where the producers told us, you know what, do not use the song that we shot.
But on this song, I'll just tell you the really funny part is, so when we were to do this song, yeah, at that time I resisted it. Like, this is before we've shot the song.
Okay.
Because it was then the script to have a song during a wedding. And at that wedding, Aisha Chaudhary was to collapse. Yeah. That was the thing. But what happened is, in Delhi, I was shooting a party that was only meant to be some 20 seconds in the film. I had got all my friends and family to shoot that party, and it the energy was amazing. Because usually you have junior artists shooting these scenes,
Correct.
but I had real people, and I had the real Niren Chaudhary. So he was singing Mustang Sally on the guitar. Farhan was jamming with him. My cousin was on the piano. And it was fantastic. And right then, spontaneously, my co-creator, Nilesh Manian, and I was like, this is it. We got to make Aisha collapse here because you can never replicate this party and the energy in this party. So I whispered to Priyanka, Farhan, that we're now going to keep shooting this for 6 hours because this is going to be the big scene. We're not going to do the wedding. So we shot it. It was fantastic. Showed it to Sid. I said, now Sid, I want to change the script. So we won't have that wedding because this party really works. And he watched it and said, it's terrific. I love it too. And then the music company and all, you know, we still have a song that we had committed to do in a wedding and they wanted that. So Sid said we should do it. So I was like, okay, so how do I now fit it into my script? So first I didn't sort of want it, but then I understood, okay, I mean, there's a commitment we've made.
Sure.
And then I came up with a good solution that they go for a friend's wedding to Andamans, which was meant to be a vacation, but I was like, okay, I'll make it, they go for a friend's wedding. And we shoot this song.
Yeah.
So in the beginning I was not for it, then I was like, okay, I'll convert this. So then we shot the song. I love the song. And now Sid and Ronnie, and I think it's tremendously courageous of them, they're like, no, I don't feel we should put the song in. And I'm like, no, we must put the song in. So it's a complete reversal. Like art house commercial ka joke ho raha hai yahan pe, because my producers are like, we are losing money on it.
Till then you are convinced that it's going to work.
I want it. No, I feel they're protecting the film from me. It's ironic because you always feel afraid that it'll be the other way around, especially a director like me. I've always produced my own films. I've never had somebody else producing my films. And it's your terror that your producers and you will be on a different page. Not only have we been completely creatively in sync, I feel in this instance, they're protecting the film from me because for me, my lalach is now I've shot this beautiful big song, abhi dal do. But they are like, you have made such a pure film. It doesn't need this added tag. We have faith in your film that it's going to go out there. We're doing a big release. It doesn't need it. And I think that is beautiful. I'm so grateful to them. But it's ironic that I was just like, no, now put the song.
I know that you produced your own films also because primarily no one was wanting to produce your films,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Like you went, I want to know about that phase. What sort of opinions did you hear that were bizarre at the times? And now, even now, things that need to get changed when you have filmmakers just wanting to do honest storytelling in the Hindi film industry.
So Amu, nobody wanted to touch with a barge pole because Amu was on genocide against the Sikh community in 1984. The Congress was still in power and nobody wanted to touch it with a barge pole. I had to, and it was my first feature film, but it didn't deter me because I was just absolutely determined that I'm going to tell the story come what may. And so I made Amu, that's how. And even to release it, like I had to put my own money to just get it to 5 theatres because although Sham Shroff of Shringar Films, they did have the courage to release it. It was just in 3 screens and I put my own money and we had 5 screens. From 5, I'm now going to 1,000 with this guy spring on my 3rd film.
I need to acknowledge that. Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. But with Margarita with a Straw, it was interesting. So Viacom 18 were co-producing with me. At midpoint though, after it was all done, I was going on evolving the script and I had decided now that the character is going to be bisexual, Kalki's character. And as soon as that happened in the film, they were like, are you kidding? Disability and sexuality, no way. So they backed out and said, we will only give half the money. Even that I had to just say, stay at least for half the money because they said we're out of the film. And I was like, no, now you've made a commitment. I'll find the other half. And actually Nilesh Maniyar, who produced it with me, found the other half. And his courage and support really made that happen. But they don't want to touch difficult subjects. So when it was disability and sexuality, no producer wanted to touch it, you know. With The Sky is Pink, I really, really applaud Sid Roy Kapoor because I myself felt that no commercial producer will again want to touch this film.
You felt that?
So I did. Because firstly, by now I felt like my films, I have to make them as indie films. Like people are not seeing that they have commercial possibility if you put stars in them and if you market them right. They actually do. Because the storytelling and the way the scripts are, audiences relate to them, you know. So it was a tragedy I was just willing to live with. I was not willing to change what I'm going to tell. I'm going to still tell the kind of stories I want to tell. And when Sid had seen Margarita with the Straw and he had loved it, and I got a call from his associate. So Malvika said, send us the script. I said, no, because y'all are not going to want it. And they kept pursuing me. I said, no, I'm making it by myself. And they pursued me. I said, okay, read it. I know y'all won't like it. In 2 weeks, Sid called me. He said, I love the script. We're doing this film. I just find that magical, and just to have the confidence and faith in it, and let it be my film. Like he didn't dial me down even a little bit to change either my filmmaking style or what the story I'm telling.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful. Like you said, from 5 screens to 1,000 today, that looks quite a journey.
And 25 countries.
And
like
25
global
countries.
Release. Yeah.
And so I think it's time that I make you take that trip back to nostalgia, saying that would you call this your defining sort of moment, or is that moment that you feel that your life has changed? Besides, like, you know, like I feel now you don't have to have that struggle so much, you know, post this. Is this the moment that you feel that?
Yes, this is a defining moment, because I feel, so Amu also was a defining moment, because it was the first time I made a film, and I just wasn't even sure, can I even be successful? Can I make a film? Of course, it opened in Berlin and then Toronto and won 2 national awards. So at least I felt that, theek hai, I can make films that work. But this is a defining moment for me. And we'll know after the box office. You know, we don't know how it'll be, but the fact that it has the opportunity, that my work has the opportunity, my authentic work is going to be put in the best way possible to the world, is, I keep pinching myself. I feel like Alice in Wonderland. I feel teary-eyed thinking. I won't be teary-eyed thinking about death. I'll feel teary-eyed thinking with gratitude. The gratitude makes me get teary towards Sid and Ronnie, and then Priyanka, Farhan, everybody who supported this film, who believed in the film, who came on board, even though it's about the loss of a child, because they realized that it's actually a really funny, entertaining take that I have on death, and to give it a chance with our audiences makes me teary.
You know, and talking about The Sky is Pink, and I cannot not talk about Zaira. To fact that you got that perfect casting even for the main principal character, I think must have been something that was important to you, right? Like it was a defining thing in the film. How did that happen? And of course, then, you know, later her decision to sort of not be a part of it. I'm sure you'll miss her. How do you look at that?
So with Priyanka, Farhan, as I said, as I was writing the script, I had very clear vision that these are the two to be.
Yeah.
With Aisha's character, we had auditioned 100 girls, and we were looking at 100 girls, and you know, there were quite a few that I liked, but we were thinking about it. And then my co-creator, who wrote the screenplay with me, Nilesh Maniyar, worn many hats in this film, he came up with a brilliant idea. He said Zaira Wasim. And, you know, I was like, yeah, but she's a kid, right? She was in Dangal, and I hadn't seen Secret Superstar. And then I watched it, and then Sid was thrilled. He was like, brilliant idea. We called Zaira. She came. She loved my narration, immediately said yes. And so immediately, like, it was like, yes, she is the perfect casting for this film. I don't miss her because I'm completely in touch with her. I just had a huge Skype call with her. After I came back from Toronto, she wanted to hear in detail, blow by blow, that what's happening, what's happened. Just in July, I was in Jammu meeting her because I was doing the recording of the voiceover for the film. You know, she's very much in my life still, so she's around.
But I'm sure she must have sort of discussed her, you know, opinion of not, and I'm sure you do feel, obviously you respect her decision of not sort of continuing with the films or being a part of promotions. Did you sort of feel it was necessary to have her to sort of also be a part of it?
She didn't discuss it with me. It was as much news to me, and but she wrote to me privately at the same time as she wrote publicly. I 1000% support her. She's only 18. Like she has her life ahead of her. She can do whatever she wants. Just because you're talented in something doesn't mean that's the right decision for you for your life, right? Absolutely. So she'll figure out her life. We support her 10,000 times. Her performance is brilliant. It's exciting in a way that for a while this is going to be actually her last film. Let's see what she does later in future. She may come back to films. But in a way, this is great that I can show the world Zaira Wasim at her absolute best and amazing.
Fantastic. So to completely end the interview, I said Amir has always sort of been, you know, supportive of your work. And it's not the first time that he tweeted for this as well.
Mr. Bachchan and Amir. Both.
And Mr. Bachchan and Amir. And they always say that, you know, it's so important that films like this get support from the industry. And a lot of people say that, you know, instead of just supporting each other's film, you have to look at films, and if the content is great, there has to be support. How do you look at that? You know, we should sort of support each other's films, and also the kind of support you've received for it anyway.
I mean, like, again, as Amir is just so incredible, because with Margarita with the Straw, he came out publicly he pushed the trailer and he held all these screenings for me.
Yeah.
He called me. I was in Toronto, and it was in the morning, and I was just like, oh my God, Amir. And he said, I love your trailer. And I was like, thank you so much. That means so much. And I was like, will you tweet it, please? And he did, you know. And I think that's really generous of Amir, and he's one of those rare people who does that when he has to love something, and I'm like that too. Like if I don't love something, and if I was famous, I wouldn't endorse it either, and I love that about Amir. So therefore you can rely on that taste, you know. Same, you know, there's a few other people who've done it. It means a huge amount to me. It's absolutely wonderful, and we should all do that for each other, because it's not a competitive thing. You should want many films to do terrific, and especially films that are content driven and that are different, because then we can open up cinema. So the better that unusual films do, the better it is for everybody in the industry.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Shonali. It's been wonderful hearing your filmmaking journey and how you look at it. Thank you once again.
Thank you.